Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Here it
Yeah,
comes.
yeah.
All day I've been waiting for this.
Woo! Finally, a good game to watch. Na-na-na. Na-na-na-na. Bum-ba-da-bum-bum-bum-ba-da. Na-na-na. Na-na-na-na. Woo!
And there you go. Welcome to the Sports Porch Philadelphia. It's a big night for Philadelphia sports fans. We got the rematch of the Super Bowl coming up here in just a few hours. I'm watching ESPN right now on the TV in my studio, and all the hype is here. And it's crazy. So thanks for being here. If you're watching us live right now, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, and right after this show, we're going to drop the podcast. It's the Sports Porch Philadelphia on Spotify, Apple, the iHeartRadio app, or anywhere you get your podcast. Please subscribe, leave us a review. We're going to have some fun tonight. It is the rematch with the Chiefs in Arrowhead. How you feeling, Schwaber?
I don't have any feeling at all. I feel numb.
Well, those are the painkillers from the dental procedure you had last week.
I mean, look, in a game like this, to be honest, unless you get blown out, right? Unless you get blown out, it's like, if you win, great. If you lose, well, okay. It's kind of like if the Eagles win, they're the best team in football. If they lose, they're the second best team in football, unless they get blown out. Right. That's basically the way I look at it. So as long as it's a close game, I'm fine. Look, it's certainly too early. We got some really good teams out there. 49ers playing good ball, Lions playing good ball.
Right.
Dallas plays good ball, at least against teams that aren't good. But there's competition out there. But, I almost sort of feel like we might be seeing this one again. So who knows if this is really anything to get too excited about or not?
Well, yeah.
That was a big
I know, because this is one of those games where sometimes I don't like the Super Bowl rematches they do every year, because it's kind of like when it comes to the division and playoff seeding, this game is probably not going to mean a whole lot for either team.
Right.
Because, well, it could. It could. That the Lions are 8-2. The Niners are 7-3. So the Cowboys in the AFC, the Ravens are at 8-3. The Jags, the Dolphins, and the Browns are at 7-3. I laugh at the Browns right now, but this is the kind of game that really, when it gets right down to it, it's just another football game.
Right, and that's what I'm getting at here.
Right.
I mean, the bottom line is, it's like, if the Eagles win tonight, it's not like I feel like any sort of like revenge was had. We lost the important game. This is just a regular football game.
Yeah, but Schwaber, I know you. You'll feel a little better.
I'll feel good about that. The Eagles are 9-1.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if this was one of the Buddy Ryan years, the vitriol? We're gonna go in there and we're gonna set it. We're gonna put them 6 feet under. Patrick Mahomes, all he does is throw touchdown passes. That's all he does. He's no good. That's all he does. Yeah, do I assign a little bit of value to this game from a psychological psychological perspective, absolutely. I mean, if the Eagles win, and it goes for both teams. If the Eagles win, I think it's a huge boost for them because we can dice up all the plays we want from the Super Bowl loss, but the fact is they lost. They lost. Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball. They didn't score enough points to win. So it was a loss. So psychologically, this team beat them in the Super Bowl. So to come into their house in a season where they both look like they're pretty much the contender in their division, and beat them now, if they beat them handily, which to me would be by 10 points or more, then psychologically that kind of sets them aside, and the Eagles can get down to the business of winning out their remaining games, making sure they get a first round bye, and hopefully stretching this into the playoffs without any injuries. If Kansas City wins, it's kind of like an oh no moment psychologically for the Eagles. Like, oh no, yeah, these guys, they beat us in the Super Bowl, they beat us again. And it kind of goes both ways. If Kansas City wins, then they're kind of like, yeah, we beat these guys before, we beat them again. They're like the team that feels like they're unstoppable. So I think it's big from that perspective because it could set up the rest of the year, especially for the Eagles. If the Eagles lose big, it's they definitely have the kind of charisma as a team that they can rebound from that. I mean, they did lose to the Jets. So
right.
But I think it's a bigger psychological factor than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I would say, it's nice to actually watch a really good game tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be
It's
nice.
it's just like we've been watching so much bad football. I mean, and just across the board. You know
Yeah,
what
oh
I
yeah,
mean?
it has been absolutely.
And it's good to actually, go see. You're going to watch a good football game tonight, even if one team ends up winning by 10 or 17 points. You still feel like it's going to be a really competitive game.
Right. Of course, Steve thinks it's not just another. You know what? We're banning the Taylor Swift. I'm not doing this
The
tonight.
parents are meeting tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Buddy would have put a bounty on Nick Lowry, the field goal kicker. That's so funny, Pat.
But you know what? They're gonna do a whole bunch of garbage. Like we're gonna have to be annoyed by that tonight.
Yes.
Looking at the parents and is somebody wearing a half Jason Kelsey, half Travis Kelsey jersey and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
All that garbage.
Yeah, the hype. They just showed Andy Reid walking into the locker room. Andy Reid said he could feel juiced up energy in practices this week.
Yeah.
I'm just reading this stuff from the ESPN.
What kind of burgers do you think he had this week?
Cheese.
I think everything burger.
Yeah, he's definitely an everything burger kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's actually talk about the game a little bit. Like,
okay, let's do that.
What do you think the Eagles have to do to win, and what do you think the Chiefs have to do to win?
I talked about this last week a little bit. I really think that the Eagles have to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And to do that, they have to sustain drives. And to do that, they have to have a running game. And it's not that they don't have a running game, they do, but I think in this game, what you need to see really is more designed plays for Jalen Hurts. I almost called him Jalen Smith. I don't know why. Jalen Hurts to run the ball. You're so anti-chunky soup, Schwabini, HQ'd in Camden. Don't know what that means.
All right, let's get back to the game.
The Kelsey chunky soup commercial. That's what he's talking about. So I think the Eagles are going to have to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. That's the only way you stop the Chiefs from scoring is when Patrick Mahomes is not on the field, because they score almost every time they get the ball, and you just have to you have to keep it out of his hands. So on defense, what they have to do is Mahomes is great against the blitz. That's the quandary that teams have with him. he's got as good or better a passer rating against the blitz than he does if you drop back into his zone defense or just go man to man and send 4. So that's really tough for an aggressive defense like the Eagles. You almost have to put a spy on him and not try to pressure him. Doesn't that sound strange?
Well, I disagree with that. I mean, I think you have to try to pressure him, and I think you have to give him different looks. If you let him sit back there, he's just going to pick you apart. Now, granted, you can bring the blitz, and if they pick up the blitz, he's going to pick you apart, and the result could be worse,
That's what I'm
right?
saying. Right. Exactly.
But I think you have to take your chances.
That's
At times, at
right.
times. I think, for the Eagles to win tonight, I mean, I think the biggest thing that they have to be able to do is they got to be able to play a mostly clean game in the secondary. Secondary's kind of been the weak point this year. Bradbury's kind of underperformed. I don't put it past him to have a good second half, but that needs to start now. Um, you know, if to be honest, if and Steve, you can put Steve's thing up here. It says take away Kelsey, big plays from AJ and Devontae, win the turnover battle. What I would do to take away Kelsey, and this is probably not something that the Eagles are going to do the whole game, but I would put Slay on Kelsey.
Mm,
I don't care.
really?
I don't care that that Kelsey's bigger than Slay or anything like that. But what Slay can do is Slay can cover. You just want to stop. Look, and Kelsey's going to get his catches. You just want to stop the yards after the catch, right? And hopefully stop some of the longer passes down the field where I think a cornerback like Slay could handle that. Because
Right.
they're receivers. Now, look, I mean, you've got Patrick Mahomes. So what that means is, below average receivers are actually good receivers because he makes them better, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But if we just want to look at just, you know, who the who the who the receivers are, I mean, there's nobody special there. So I would feel like, I would rather have, one of my backup corners or a safety covering like, Sky Moore, or somebody like that,
Right.
than my backup corners covering Kelsey,
Right.
Now I think they're going to put Kevin Byard on Kelsey because in the past he's kind of been like a Kelsey stopper. He's played really well against him, but Byard, I don't think really he hasn't really done much in his first couple games as an Eagle. And I don't know if that's not knowing the system or, maybe he's just, starting to hit that, you turn 30 and maybe you're not as good type thing. So it'd be interesting to see if we get anything from Byard tonight. But anyway, long story short, I think you got to get some pressure on Mahomes. I think you've got to, obviously play better in the secondary. Don't let Mahomes pick you apart. And yeah, just like you said, play a ball control game so that you have Mahomes on the sideline most of the time. Now, keep in mind, in the Super Bowl, um, Mahomes was kept in check really well, actually. I mean, like only passed for like 150 yards, and
Right.
that's because the Eagles basically controlled the clock, right?
Right.
But at the same time, he still made enough plays for them to win, you know? So, it can't just be about just going on long drives. I think kind of what Steve was saying as well. You do need a couple big plays, from AJ Brown and Devontae Smith to, hopefully stack, you hope anyway, you can stack a couple touchdowns and get a double digit lead.
Right.
And then you can kind of do more of what you want to do. But I mean, I had predicted this game was going to be a loss just because it's in Arrowhead. I mean, teams at the level of Kansas City and the Eagles at this point, they just win most of their home games. They usually do,
Right.
especially the nationally televised ones, Monday night, Thursday night, Sunday night. So, I'm not expecting a win, but if they win, then I will be pleasantly pleased.
Yeah, and when it comes to what you're talking about with the ball control thing, I'm not saying that they shouldn't take their shots down the field.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the longer they keep the ball away from Mahomes, the less chance he's going to make a play. The less chance Kelsey's going to make a play. The less chance anybody's going to make a play.
Right.
So they have to. My hope is that their game plan is one in which they have added back some of those RPOs for Jalen Hurts that were so effective last year in keeping plays alive and keeping the clock going because, you
Mhm.
know, they've become more of a passing team. He's become more of a passing quarterback. He's not running as much. And we don't know if it's obviously designed that way, but we don't know what the reason is. We can speculate. It's to protect their investment. He kind of his knee was a little banged up, that kind of stuff. Of course, that's going to play a part in it. But if you want to come out and do something that the Chiefs aren't expecting, then you want to put that wrinkle in there because now they're going to have to respect that. And when they respect that and you're playing ball control and you're running the ball with Swift and also Hurts, there's designed run plays there. Now they've got to play up, and that opens it up for that big play to Devontae Smith or AJ Brown. But you still have to, you can't, in my opinion, they cannot come out and strike too quickly. I mean, of course, if they get the ball first, you want them to get a touchdown first. Yes, but I'd like to see that be a 7-minute drive.
Mhm.
Take up half
Oh,
the
yeah.
first quarter. Then give the ball back to the Chiefs, see if you can get a stop. Then another 4.5, 5-minute drive that leads in a field goal, and now you've got a 10-0 lead, and now you can pin your ears back. Now you can start to put a little pressure on Mahomes because he has shown this year that he does have the propensity to make mistakes. He's played some games this year where he has been pushing it. He has been trying to make the plays that he always made, but they've led to interceptions. It led to a bad loss. So, you still have to keep the ball out of his hands. Every single team that has ever played Mahomes has tried different ways of either getting pressure on him, flushing him out of the pocket, and he always seems to overcome that. The only real effective way to keep the Chiefs from scoring is to keep the ball out of his hands. And to your point, Schwaber, they did that during the Super Bowl. And
Right.
if it wasn't for that fumble that resulted in a touchdown,
Right.
they
They
would have
would have
won.
won the
They
game.
would have
Yeah.
won the
Yeah.
game. So that game plan worked because
Right.
what happened is they coughed the ball up on offense. The defense
Right.
didn't lose the game. So,
Right.
but I know, you start to get the sweats and you start to it's kind of like PTSD for you. So I don't want to talk too much.
No, no sweats at all. At
Have
all.
you have you worked it through with your therapist now?
No, I mean, look, I am very, very lucky to be an Eagles fan right now.
Right.
I mean, I really am. I mean, they've got great ownership, they got a great coach, they got a really good quarterback, maybe even a great quarterback. I mean, look, they've been in 2 Super Bowls in 5 years, you know? So, I mean, look, the bottom line is I've barely seen the Eagles lose the last 2 years.
Right.
So, and then you go back a couple more years to 2017, 2018, they barely lost that year too. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I don't uh I I'm grateful to be an Eagles fan.
You know what this is? This is the pregame. This is the whole pregame. I'm going to throw out good energy to the universe and hope it goes my way. That's what this is right here.
No, no,
I'm
it's not.
grateful to be an Eagles fan. I love them so much.
No,
And
I'm
I'm
just very lucky, very fortunate. I mean,
I'm I'm
the
so happy that they win all the time. It's so
I
wonderful.
know. It is, man. You know how it is. I mean, you are,
I do.
a Redskins Commanders fan,
I was
and
a Redskins fan. I am not
right.
a Commanders
Okay.
fan.
But you had that, what was it, in the 90s? They won 3 Super Bowls
In the 80s, they went to
in the
4
80s.
and won 3.
Right. So
And
bottom line is in whatever, in that 10-year span, I mean, you won all the time,
yeah,
right?
pretty much.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, but you also know what it's like to, like, never win.
Uh,
You
yeah,
know?
I
And I
really
know
do.
what that's like too, and that's why I just feel so lucky because I'm in one of those, really good stretches here, you know?
I also know what it's like. I also have very, very strong feelings for Cleveland and Baltimore fans when their teams packed up and left in the night. Because my team just decided one night to change its name. So,
Well,
that hurts.
I do think it's actually I don't it's not gonna change back, but I do think they are gonna change the name.
I don't really care anymore. The
Yeah.
Redskins died when they changed the name to the Washington football team.
You don't still root for the burgundy and gold, though?
Mhm. They
No?
even changed the burgundy and gold. It's not the same burgundy and gold.
Yeah. You wouldn't care if they, like, all of a sudden got great again?
Well, let's just say that if that ever happens, we'll find out. I have absolutely no desire to watch them play. None.
Mm,
None. The 20 years, 20 plus years of Dan Snyder destroyed. And then he ended it with with the whole debacle, the name change and all that kind of garbage. And
mm.
I really don't consider them even a football team. I'm being dead honest. I'm being dead honest. Now we got comments coming in from Amy, May, and Steve about
Mhm,
the Steelers. This is a Philly show, so we're going to leave those comments off. Please, we appreciate you watching all of our shows, but please
mhm.
keep those comments to the next show, of course. So let's predict the game. We've had a bye week here. Let's make predictions. You have it down as a loss. What do you think the score is going to be, Schwaber?
I think it'll be Chiefs 31, Eagles 27.
Okay. Well, we can't have somebody on the Sports Porch Philadelphia not pick the Eagles. So I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I think they're gonna play. I think Sirianni is a pretty smart guy. And I think whatever mistakes he thinks he made the last time he played Andy Reid, obviously he calls Andy Reid for advice.
Mhm.
I think he's going to correct those. I think the Eagles are going to pin their ears back here. They're going to play a real conservative game, and they're going to take their shots downfield when they can and keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. And this is a tough one because this could end up being a low-scoring game, although that's not what we're all predicting. But I think they're going to win this game 21-17.
Interesting.
There you go.
Very interesting.
There you go. Okay, next subject here, the Sixers. Let's talk
Sixers
Sixers.
10
They fall back a little. They're 10-3.
10-3, but I believe still second best record in basketball, I believe,
Yep, yep.
right?
Behind the Celtics, of course. That's the
Mhm,
naughty word. The Celtics.
mhm, mhm.
Um, Still early in the season, of course, but
Still early, but I think the big thing to talk about really is just the ascension of Tyrese Maxey.
right,
We're kind of watching him now. Like I still think we need to see him do it for like an entire year this year, but he looks like he's ascending to being a star. He is like
Kyle decided to join us.
ah
I had to get that in. Thanks, Kyle,
okay.
for being here. Anyway, go
So,
ahead.
Maxi is, I mean, I haven't looked like since the last 2 games or so, but at one point in time it was, Embiid was first in the league in scoring and Maxi was 10th. Maxi was like around like 7th or 8th or something in assists. Um but really, he's just kind of more taking over games. Like, when I talk about guys like like a Dame Lillard or a Steph Curry, it's like what can those guys do that just nobody else can do? They basically hit 3 pointers from like 10 feet beyond the arc,
Right,
you know,
right,
and I've seen Maxi do a bunch of that this year already, you know,
right.
and, so that's exciting to me. It was also exciting that he had a 50-point game.
Yep.
That's the kind of thing that stars generally do. Um, and I like the fact that they got rid of Harden and became more of a team. Now, what's kind of interesting on the flip side is that for a while the Clippers started 0-6 with Harden, but I think they just won a game. So I think they're now
They did.
one and
Yeah.
six. They're
Well,
one
good
and
for them.
six with Harden. Right, right. He just
Yeah.
like tears apart teams. But no, I mean, the
Yeah.
only thing that kind of happened that sort of threw a little wrench in things is Kelly Oubre, got hit by a car.
Right. We talked
But
about
he's
that
he's
last week.
he's
Yeah.
he's practicing. He might be back in a week or two. So hopefully that's not like a long term type of thing. But yeah, I mean, I'm pleased. I'm pleased with the way they're playing. And it'll be interesting to see, if they make any moves at the trade deadline or if they just kind of stand pat with what they have. So,
Yeah.
but
Maxi's
that's right.
averaging 27 points a game and and 7 assists.
Hmm.
And he's played all 13 games. So, and he's averaging 38 minutes. Tobias Harris is averaging 19 and a half points a game. So,
Hmm. Hmm.
but your big assist leaders are Maxey and Embiid. Embiid's about 6 assists a game and 11 rebounds. But yeah, I mean, it is good to see. And they're keeping pace. And believe it or not, at 10-3, 13 games, I mean, yeah, there's what, 69 games to go now.
Right.
So there's a lot of season to play.
Oh
But
yeah.
as the season has gone on here, a lot of the points that we talked about, a lot of the things we were talking about last year
Hmm.
that seemed to be the issues, they all revolved around Harden and the coach. And
Right.
both of those issues have been rectified. New coach, no Harden. So,
Right. And a lot of sharing of the ball, So
right,
so everybody gets involved, everybody's engaged. You don't have Tobias Harris kind of feeling disappointed because he's only scoring 10 points a game, even though he
right,
could score 20.
right,
You know,
right.
everybody's passing the ball, which is a good thing.
Well, that's key. You got to distribute the ball. You got to get a lot of people in the game because that way they never know where it's coming from. Man, I'm so analytical tonight. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're really throwing out some wowzers out there.
I know. It's been a long day.
And I
Monday.
guess I guess we got to talk about the Flyers sitting in a playoff spot right now. 18 games into the season. Who would have thunk it?
Yeah, who would have thunk it? Let's take a look at the Flyers. Currently 10-7-1, second in the Metro behind the Rangers.
Hmm.
Um,
Our
you
arch
know,
rival.
there's a lot of teams though. It's kind of tight right now. The
Oh,
worst team in
sure.
the Metro is the Blue Jackets at 12 points. But then you have the Islanders at 17 all the way up to Philly in second at 21. So, it's kind of a little bit of a wolf pack going on there.
Oh, it is. It
So
is. I mean, you lose two games and some other team wins two games, and you're all of a sudden out of a playoff spot.
that's right. That's right.
But but it's good to be there. I
Yes.
mean, it's good that what I like is that they've gone younger, and a lot of these young kids are really playing well. Like for example, Owen Tippett is a guy who he was the main piece in the Claude Giroux deal when we dealt him to Florida, and
Right.
now he looks like a real good ascending player, right?
Right. Right.
You've got like a Tyson Forster out there who was a first round pick.
Right.
So you've got like a Cam York as a first round pick who's a defenseman is out there. And you've got like I always think of the goaltender position, depending on who you are. But the good ones, the real good ones, seem to get better year after year. And Carter Hart is playing very well this year in net. They kind of got just enough of a mix of some vets like a Sean Couturier and a Cam Atkinson who missed all last year because of injury, and they're both playing very well.
Right.
Couturier had a game winner against the Las Vegas Knights, who obviously won the Stanley Cup last year. So that's a good win. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they're able to keep it up, but
Right.
you got to be happy so far with what you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, and like Pat says here, the comment he says the NHL in November is Major League Baseball in May. Yeah, that's kind of true. You know, it really is. There's but what you start to see here is teams start to kind of settle into who they are, and
Hmm.
if they can get that identity going and have confidence in that, yeah,
Hmm.
you never know. I mean, the Rangers are obviously the best team in the division.
Right.
But after that, it really is, with the exception of maybe Columbus. When you look down the line here, you would think that Philly and Washington would be down closer to the bottom than Carolina, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, or even the Island. But it's kind of upside down. It's kind of like the American League East this year. The American League East was upside down with Baltimore and Tampa Bay on top, and the Yankees and the Red Sox on the bottom. But
Well,
uh,
there's different teams play different styles. So like, like the way the Flyers are playing right now, like they're playing, like their coach, kind of like tough and gritty, like Tortorella. So, when you watch a Flyers game, they're talking about how many shots certain guys blocked. You know
right,
what I mean?
right,
That kind of stuff. They're talking about like that we lead the league in shorthanded goals. You know, they're talking about that kind of stuff, and that's kind of good stuff. There's other teams, like for example, like take the Penguins, who's a rival of ours. Penguins obviously have more top end talent,
right,
right?
right,
But they're also just like, probably the reason why they'll be, a little bit over 500, or maybe a good amount over 500, is just because they've got top end talent, but then it gets kind of weaker, the further down the lines you go, and then you also have the fact that guys are getting older and they tend to get injured, and all that kind of stuff. So they play a more exciting game than the Flyers play, but the Flyers probably going to be in more games, you know.
right, right. Well, how would you like to be the Islanders right now? Out of the 17 games they've played, they're 6-6 with 5 overtime losses. That's horrible. Of course, Pittsburgh's 9-8. They haven't had an overtime loss.
Hmm.
So, and nobody else has really come close. Columbus has 4, but they only have 4 wins. So, yeah, I think this is shaping up to, it could be a very interesting year for the Flyers. Even if they just play like kind of 500 hockey here on out.
Right, right.
And I think that the takeaway from this is that this, if that's the case, and even right now at 10-7-1, it was not expected.
No, no.
Definitely
And
not expected.
and what's kind of interesting about it, the reason why you can have hope for the Flyers is because, with Danny Briere and Keith Jones, being the leadership now, um, it's a commitment to, younger players and playing a different style of hockey, not playing like a Broad Street Bullies kind
Right.
of hockey.
Right.
So what's nice about that, like, the crazy thing is like, even though the Flyers are playing well now, you know, 3 years from now, the two best players in our system, they're still not in the NHL yet.
Right.
It's the Russian guy that we took in the first round this year. And it's Cutter Gauthier, who we took in the first round like 2 years ago. They're both like dominating their leagues, And I've looked on like, some NHL sites. They're both like ranked like in the top like 15 prospects in the whole NHL,
Right.
So it's like, hopefully like, we can kind of gradually get better. And then when those guys are ready, that's when we can really become like a playoff team.
Yeah. And if the team turns itself around and can play well before those guys get up here, all the better. All the
Right.
better. All
Right.
right, something that I know you're super happy about for the Phillies
Yes.
today. Super happy. Aaron Nola returns to the Phils with a big payday, $172 million.
Aaron Nola's back.
I bet you can't wait to see him pitch next year, Mark.
I cannot wait. Well,
You had
here's
to expect this. You had to
well,
expect
well,
this.
here's the thing. I mean, look, unfortunately, one of the problems with this offseason was that Aaron Nola, many folks said he was the best, starting pitcher available,
Right.
right? So, the question is, like if you don't bring him back, I mean, as much as I can't stand him, he does have good years, bad years, and maybe this year will be a bad year, next year will be a good year.
Right.
He did take less money to sign with the Phillies, turning down a larger offer from the Atlanta Braves, which I
That
thought
that's very interesting.
yeah, which I thought was pretty cool, you know? Um, Apparently Bryce Harper is trying to recruit, some Japanese pitcher, who's supposed to be like the next big thing.
Okay.
And so apparently the Phillies, they say they're still in the mix for him. He had like a 1.1 ERA last year.
Yeah, that's not too shabby.
No, no. So he's really good. I mean, you know, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I mean, look, I'll be interested to see if the tweak that they made with Aaron Nola is real or if it's not real. I don't know if you remember this, but they had determined I can't remember which side is the right side, so just bear with me, but I'll just use one as an example.
Right.
He was apparently looking there's apparently a pitch clock like next to each dugout,
Right.
and he was looking at one on like I believe it was the visitors dugout, so on the right side. And by looking at that, they were saying that it caused him to, move the ball over more towards the left. Like if he was trying to be particular about a corner
Right.
and it would just be really far outside. And then when he made those like three starts before the playoffs, and then he made some really good starts in the playoffs, they had him switch to looking at the pitch clock on the home dugout, the left side, and
Right.
then apparently like that solved the problem. So I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I hope it is true. Um, but he still didn't come up big in a really important game 6 against Arizona, but he did also, I mean, win 3 playoff games before that. So, we can't just, flat out come out and say he's terrible. So, bottom line is it's better to have him than not have him. I guess I'll sort of leave it at that. It'll be interesting though that like he's going to be a rare case. He may be somebody who plays his entire career for one team. He really may.
Well, it looks like it's gonna be that.
Yeah, he's got a 7-year deal and he's
Mhm.
30, right? So
Mhm.
he's going to be there, could be there till he's 37.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he could.
Yeah.
He could. There's
So
no cap in baseball. There's nothing that says they don't release him at some point or trade him either if
right, right. Who knows?
I think I rather doubt that he would be, yeah, a Philly for that long, only because if in the next 2 years the Phillies start to kinda regress and it looks like it's time to kinda jettison the ship for this try,
Mhm. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
gonna trade a guy like Nolan, for prospects, Nola. I mean, you're gonna trade guys,
Mhm.
but who knows? Who knows? All I know is I'm watching Travis Kelce here on the TV.
Yeah, what's he doing?
He's walking around like he owns the place because he probably does.
Mhm.
I don't see his auto shirt though. I don't see that. So, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I feel
I'm
I
not sure.
feel like Taylor Swift looks like a little girl. Like, even though she's 35, she's got a baby face.
I think she's got a lot of psychological problems.
Yeah, I honestly, like, I feel like if you're Travis Kelce, like, why would you choose to be with her? You could
I know.
do so much better.
I could think of 50 Instagram models off the top of my head. I mean, seriously. I mean, and it's not like it's like, yeah, she's got a lot
50
of money.
Instagram models.
I'm serious.
Right.
that are
Yeah,
much
yeah,
younger.
right.
Yeah, and
Right.
Pat says she's 33. Whatever.
But
She's
you said that pretty quickly, Pat, like you knew it. You didn't have to look it up.
he does know it. He does know it. So, anyway, all right. Monday Night Football tonight. Eagles at the Chiefs. Schwaber's got the Chiefs taking them. I've got the Eagles winning. We'll return next week. And we will break it down.
We'll have 2 games to talk about next week.
You're right. We will.
Yes.
We will. And Pat says, and a billionaire. Gee, I didn't know that, Pat.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, fans.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for watching the Sports Porch Philadelphia.
We love our
Watching all over
fans.
the world. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, X, and of course, we're going to drop the podcast right after the show. Right after the show. On the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And what I forgot to say was you can always visit us on the World Wide Web at theporcheslive.com, theporcheslive.com. Schwaber?
Theporcheslive.com. Click on the Philadelphia tab. It's the only tab that matters. And go Birds!
Yeah.